Elders, the plague of ignorance has eaten deeply into the minds of our youth. At this point, it's like an incurable disease.
And if we continue like this, we will not have a future to call our own. Rara. Even the future like this, I cannot see it because it seems bleak. Osumio. What do we do, Abi? We need to send one. Who is of them, but it's not among them. In this generation. Well,
so who do we send? Who? Who do we send?
She's young. She's just 20 years old. A seed is still a seed until it is planted and it becomes a tree. She's young, but let's plant her so she will be a shade of protection for the next generation.
Elders. So there, Loju.
I am very sure.
Stop.
I am 40. She is 20. A new cycle has opened. A new gate. A new season. It is time to awaken her. Debola, dìde káyé rí ọ, dìde kí ìràwọ̀ ẹ tàn, dìde. Debola. It is your turn. Impact the next generation.
Greatness is in your DNA. Define, navigate, and align. Okay, so Damiloju, this was what I was talking to you about from Charles Dickens' book, A Tale of Two Cities. There's a part in chapter 1 where it reads, I was talking about that dispensation. It said it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. The age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was a season of light, it was a season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was also the winter of despair. And that's how I feel about the dispensation we're living in. Like, things have never been better and things have never been worse.
What do you mean?
Damiloju, the way I'll describe it is, it feels like a tipping point, right? From this point on, things either rise to new heights or they spiral downwards.
So it's decay or development?
Decay or development. And whatever actions we take now will not only impact us, they will impact the generation coming. So as a people, we actually have a choice to make in the way that we build the future or we just ride the wave downwards into decay. Yeah. most defining parts of my 20s, 30s onto my 40s, which is my newest, floor that I'm on, that really stand out for me were experienced with my mentor, who is in focus in this case, Bisola Lunge, because she's the one I met at 20 and she journeyed with me to my 40s. But before I get on into that, I actually need to start off by saying that before 20, I actually met two important people who have gone on from the point I met them to this moment to be really important and impactful influences in my life. When I was 17, I actually met Segun Obaje and at that time Funke Oladimeji, who is now Funke Obaje. And the both of them were leaders in the fellowship I'd started to attend. Pastor Segun Obaje, who is now Apostle Segun Obaje, was the pastor of the fellowship I joined and went on to become the leader of the UJCM, the Joint Mission of the school. And then he went to get married to Pastor Funke. Both of them have played a really remarkable role in my life. And I can't start to talk about how it's really shaped who I've become. But when I think about that journey from my 20s and the role that mentorship has played and the role Bisola Lunge has played, I want to highlight maybe about 3 to 5 things, if I can really quickly. The first is the gift of belief in oneself, right? BL really thinks that I am a genius. She really thinks that I am such a radical departure from the average young person who is my age. She thinks I'm exceptional. She thinks that she hasn't met many people like me. I don't care if it's true or not. I believed it. I went on to believe it, and it became definitely one of the most propelling influences in my life. And it was said to me at an impressionable phase of my life, at a time when young people were grappling with their sense of identity, wondering if they'll make find a path and make a difference in the world. I had this voice that continued to tell me that I was emotionally intelligent, I was a natural leader, I had extraordinary ideas, I was a driven visionary, I could execute anything. She said to me that if she was like I was at my age, she said that to me when she was 41, that if I was like you, if I was a 21-year-old like you, this is not where I'll be. He marked me so much. I remember going home that day and I was really crying on my way like, what kind of powerful affirmation is this? So she gave me the gift of self-belief because I borrowed her belief. I just said, whatever she's saying, she's wiser than me. I don't see myself that way, but she does. And I definitely bought into it. The second thing she gave me, which is likely one of the biggest gifts in my life, is a very rugged and rigorous work ethic. That woman is a hard worker, a smart worker, a visionary worker. And I know that we're now in a or the emerging generations are so keen for fast everything, fast talent, fast reward, soft life, be chill and earn and all of that. But she did give me a powerful work ethic. I remember that when I graduated from university and I started to work with her, my father sacked me from the job he didn't hire me into because he was so tired of it for so long. Like, why are you always closing late? I sack you. And then I apologize and go tomorrow. And then after a while, he was just like, there's something good changing about you. You should stay with this woman. But anyway, I ultimately started to live in her BQ because we were finishing at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And I said to just live there. She set it up for me. I began living there and I would go home only on the weekends. And I thoroughly loved the power of seeing my genius grow because there was a culture that put me under creative pressure to outdo myself consistently. She definitely gave me that. I saw her work hard. I saw her walk into big multinationals and come out with big contracts. I saw her just exceed our own expectations consistently. So that definitely will stay with me. There's something she has that I don't know if I have a lot of, but I saw her play and have fun. I don't know if I have a lot of fun. I don't know if I do it like she does it, but every weekend she'll be like, Jakajade, oh yeah, we've worked hard, let's go have fun. And we will just go to different parts of Lagos. She'll take all the young people working in the firm at the time. We'll go eat pepper soup, you know, grilled chicken, grilled fish. We will try out places, have fun, you know. So she had that balance. There was a great work ethic, but there was also enjoyment. And those things definitely shaped how I saw the world. The final thing I could share at this time, which I am keen to give everybody that I meet, is that she, of course, this is now my languaging of it, and this is the way I say it now. She delivered me from being imprisoned by social stereotypes and gave me the permission to pursue my purpose prototype. You know, she taught me how to be my own person. She wasn't your regular woman. You know, she was defiant and rebellious to status quo. And she wouldn't ever want to hear that you couldn't do something because you were a lady or a woman. It will upset her that the reason you didn't go for your goals was because you were young or you were a woman or you didn't have money. And that's how I live, and that's how I desire to also give others permission to find their own voice and be their own person. Definitely, those were things that Bisola Longe gave to me.
Hi. Hi. Are we ready? Are you ready? I'm so camera shy. Okay, let's go.
Alright, my name is Oluwafemi Dada Richards, but you know me as PDR. Well, I am a data analyst. That's for my career, like 9 to 5 corporate. I'm a data analyst, you know, I'm a tech girly, but like you can catch me writing, like I love writing, like oh my gosh. I believe that I, you know, touch like emotions when I write, like I'm able to, you know, just pick your imagination and you're able to see my writing in graphics, and that's something that I effortlessly do. Like it gives me so much joy and peace. So call myself a writer. I don't have a book yet, but very soon, very soon. Very soon. So yes, that is me.
Basically, I get your thought where one is saying, how can you see a generation so abundant in talent and potential and creativity? They're even more daring than we've ever been, and they're confident. You could call them natives of possibilities. They are at home with the idea of success and significance. And then why, in the presence of all this greatness, are we still concerned and anxious and worried? To be honest, I am not worried about the next generation. I just feel a great weight of responsibility to make sure that this degree of abundance does not go to waste, because it is not the abundance of talent that creates the future. It is channeled potential. It is processed purpose. It is curated competence. It is tested talent. Do you see? It is worked wisdom. Those are the things that really create the future. Do you see this? It is when you have a supply that you set in a system. So it's not really just about the supply. So for me, it's a weight of responsibility that I'm really feeling. But there's that anxiety in my generation and those who've gone ahead of us about those coming behind. And if I would highlight 3 things that I feel really sit in the midst of that anxiety we're feeling, the first is what I'm describing to you.
I think I have the skills and the passion that it takes to make change in Africa. Now it's a question of if, you know, I'm actually interested in seeing Africa change. And honestly, I'm willing to see a better future for Africa. In fact, I see it starting from here, of course, starting from Nigeria and expanding to every other nation.
While the next generation is excited about potential, it is clear to us that except potential is processed, purpose cannot be performed. So we're looking at the abundance and we're saying somebody has to gain a hold on these young people and let them not become so high on their own supply that they are unable to come into the humility and the hunger that helps them channel their competence, their capacity, and their character into what we call catalysis. In a way you can catalyze your life for success. But the 2 other things that I really find to be driving this anxiety, number 1 is an unprecedented level of income and influence that young people have without necessarily a commensurate instruction on how to steward that level of influence.
I do believe that we, as Gen Zs, and me personally as a Gen Z, possess the skills, creativity and passion to imagine a new Africa, because I believe that we come in with a new perspective as to how the world should be, and we have fresh ideas, innovations, and I believe that, yes, as a Gen Z, you know, in our mind, there's so many things that are going on. It's like a ripple effect happening all over again.
If you're brilliant and if you tell a great story, if you can leverage media, you are likely going to be in the front of hundreds of thousands of people over the course of the next 3 to 5 years in this decade. And you could just be 21 or 23 without a well-rounded understanding of how the world works, what it takes to nurture healthy relationships, how to spot what can go amiss in the midst of a potential partnership, you know, and how to read rooms, how to understand the political, you know, atmosphere or dynamism in a space, those sort of things. The third thing that I really think might be concern about the younger generation will definitely be the lack of rigor. There's a growing lack of rigor when it comes to expertise, when it comes to actual capacity to create value, to multiply value, to solve real problems, and to do work that could be legacy grade over the course of maybe another decade. And it's almost split in half. There are some people who are on the path of actual growth, and they're putting in the work to get better, to develop their leadership, to develop their technical expertise, to fine-tune their career path and build the intelligentsia that they require. But don't forget that these people are also set in the context of PhDs that you can, or honorary doctorates that you can have for $1,500 from Togo, and if you negotiate well enough, maybe $790. So they're set in the context of a world that is not honoring of intelligentsia and of rigor. And when you add that to the whole power of media to exaggerate where you are in comparison to where you truly are, and it's no longer really about expertise, it's more about, can you tell a powerful story? Can you package it well enough? And can you put, you know, the needed emotions behind the brand and the brand story? And people are generally going to buy that. And look around you, it's actually happening. Anybody springs up on scene, and in 6 months of insisting that they are keynote speakers and they are catalysts and experts, and in 6 months, they actually start to grace some of the most iconic platforms within their own industries or spheres of influence. So we are in the midst of a time of human evolution, a time when those who are the wisest amongst us may not be the loudest amongst us, a time when thought leadership may not be rewarded if it doesn't look fancy and colorful and has the lights and the wings on it. So I feel like a third concerning factor for the next generation will be how media can package in the absence of real substance, real weight, and real intelligentsia, and how you can actually earn from sounding brilliant when you're not exactly brilliant. And where I would land it is expertise, brilliance, competence are progressive and they're expandable. But at every phase of your progression, whatever the profession, whatever the career, you have to be solving real problems. There has to be a DYDX of your value, i.e., this is where I was and this was the issues on ground. And in the course of so number of months or years, this is where I am now and this is how I've solved this problem for this organization or this individual or this business, etc.
name is Oluwaseyi Arinde and I am a trading associate. Money woman! That's me. I aspire to perspire, you know.
My name is Oluwadamilaju Oriofe and I am a media strategist.
In a sentence, frame your future.
Whew. In a sentence, I want to frame my future.
Wow, in a sentence, that's hard though.
I have to think. In a sentence, frame my future.
If I was to frame my future in one sentence, I would say redefine possibilities, because I see myself, defying limitations, going beyond what we thought was the limits to actually moving past that. So yes, redefine possibilities.
Can you give me a sentence starter? Just something to because my future is big. Do you understand?
So many things are coming to my mind, but I think I would say a woman backed by God, speaking up for those that cannot speak for themselves.
I think it's big, it's dynamic, but there's a goal, there's an agenda. So even though I know that there's so much that I can do in different spheres of influence, I know that it's for one purpose, it's for one reason, right? That's kingdom agenda. So whatever I'm doing, I know that it's for the glory of God, right? So my future, even if I'm in the financial space, even though I'm in media, even though I'm in, I'm pastoring in church, wherever I am, I know that I have one goal, one agenda. And then that includes not just serving God, but just serving His people as well. It's okay like that. Yeah. So all the it's fine.
It's fine.
Okay.
Self-aware. I believe that as a person, there's so much of yourself that you are yet to, discover. But there are aspects of yourself you should be aware of, being aware of, what drives you, being aware of your passion, being aware of, your setbacks, being aware of your weaknesses and strengths. So being self-aware is relative, right? Because, there's so many parts of yourself you're yet to discover.
Yes, I think I'm pretty self-aware. Yeah. When there's a change in emotion, when, I feel like my soul structure has been altered. I know who I am, of course, through the lens of Christ. I think that's the first place to start from when it comes to self-awareness, so yes.
But I would say as I'm uncovering new parts of myself, I am making, friends with those parts of myself that, okay, this is a part of Pelumi that I haven't seen before, but I'm willing to embrace it and see how I can leverage it to become better and become more. So if I was to say I was self-aware, I would say, it's a process getting there. So it's not a yes or no answer. Yeah.
Look, that's a powerful question, and my answer is yes and no. Self-awareness, 3 things you have to reckon about self-awareness is that number 1, it is evolutionary. It's not a static constant, it's a dynamic, evolving framework. You're still going to know more. It's going to keep getting better as you move on that path. The second thing is that it is multidimensional. So you can actually carry self-awareness about a dimension of yourself and be possibility blind to a different dimension. The third is self-awareness has to be sourced from multiple data sets and data sources. So if all you know about yourself is what you know by reflection, it's insufficient. If all you know about yourself is drawn from maybe external feedback or what experiences show you, then it's also insufficient. On the account of these 3 foundational thoughts, I can then answer that question.
I think I'm self-aware when it comes to emotions and my personality, what I like, what I don't like, the kind of patterns that resonate with me, the kind of people that resonate with me. I think I'm self-aware.
Do I believe that Gen Z leaders or young people within the Gen Z generational spectrum have enough self-awareness to really emerge as leaders that can solve Africa's pressing problems? Yes and no.
Okay, so I believe that to a certain degree I am. I feel like as I evolve in life, I would come to the understanding of who I am, because I'm young, but the different seasons of my life that I've been through and the different phases of my life, I've discovered new things about myself and about my journey.
Aside the self-awareness connected to purpose, potential, and a preferred future, there is a self-awareness stream around your Achilles heel. There's a self-awareness stream around your most pressing personal patterns that could create a problematic procedure in your life, a problematic progression. There are things about each of us that if we don't pay attention to them, no matter how blessed, how strong, how empowered, how visionary, creative we are, they'll be strong enough. You have to reckon that strengths are not born equal and weaknesses are not born equal. So we have premium strengths, and these are strengths that the moment you lay them on a path of purpose, they multiply your ability to succeed. And I know what they are for me, right? And you have to play to those strengths, especially when you have a sense of calling in a direction. At the same time, we actually have weaknesses that can ground you to zero. You have to take care of your character. You have to take care of your weaknesses. You have to take care of your excesses. You have to take care of the point you are trying to prove because of the background you came out of. You have to take care of the way people influence you. Everybody has a way that people can influence them, everyone. Everyone has a button that no matter how high your convictions are, you will fall if that button is pressed. Do you see this? So there are rooms you don't go based on that button. There are people you don't roll with based on that button. There are things you don't do based on that button. It's critical.
For where I'm currently at and where I'm going, I believe there's a whole lot more discovery I can do, which is why I'm plugging myself in certain atmospheres and learning to fully unravel who I actually am. But to a good extent, I am.
Now, why does this matter even more? It is because in the beginning, in what is called the first and second phases of prosperity, the interventions of mercy will keep you moving and succeeding even if you are failing along the lines of your weaknesses. That's why I'm meeting young women who are excellent and they're leading businesses and even ministries, but they have emotional indiscipline and they're caught up in emotional affairs with other people's husbands or people who are not their husbands. But they're leading ministry, 22, 24, they're writing books, they're hosting conferences, they're being known for it, they're coming into platforms, they are even doing things that show the hand of God is on them. Because the hand of God doesn't stop being on you in the moments of your weaknesses. Do you see this? But you become more dangerous as the hand of God continues on you while you're not letting it regulate the arenas of your weaknesses. A second pillar I would love to speak to around self-awareness is the recognition of those that we need. Now, this might be the most impactful thing I could say during this conversation. Likely one of the most impactful things. Look at this. There's a mentorship sensation, right? And it's dangerous because that mentorship drive and sensation is based on truth, but is not being executed in a way that will have the highest impact. This is what I mean. You need mentors, but not every mentor can get you where you need to go. So you can't take the blanket desire for mentorship and just be fascinated by the most popular, the most beautiful, and just follow them. No. Actually, just as following the right mentor makes you, following the wrong mentor mars you so deeply. Bisola Lunge's impact in my life, Apostle Segun Obaje's impact in my life, Pastor Funke Obaje's impact in my life, Pastor Dele Oshumakinde, Maureen Oshumakinde, even my husband Deji-Kurunmi, the impact they've had in my life is heavily connected to the fact that they are aligned to my wiring. Yeah. I've had mentorship relationships that almost became tormentorship, and I had to just exit quickly like, nope, something is off here, right? So you need a self-awareness that helps you profile your core essence correctly so that you are able to know the kind of people and the kind of communities that call out the greatness on your inside. Not every person does that. Not every community does that. Not every mentorship style will do that for you. You need to know what you need because of who you are. It's critical. And then the third and final I would love to highlight around self-awareness is to reckon what your placement means in terms of the problem you're called to solve. In the beginning, you may not have all the answers, but I challenge young people to stop thinking about their lives from this type of perspectives. What career do I want to build? What job do I want to take? How much do I want to earn? Where do I want to be in 5 years? And you're thinking, where will I live? Would I be married or single, or should I do a master's in Nigeria or abroad? Those questions don't lead you quickly to the kind of self-awareness that makes you into a more valuable player. You should lean toward questions like, what problems keep me awake at night? What parts of my society do I feel most troubled to make a difference in? Where do I want to go across the continent or across the world because I believe I am empowered or can become empowered to contribute most meaningfully to that system? In the next 3 years, when names are mentioned for the top 10 in something, where is that someplace? What is that something that I could be on the top 10 of in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? You are asking questions like, what person or persons look the closest to my image of transcendence? Meaning, if I pursued a definite path to purpose, who looks like who I could become in another 5 years? Do you see this? So the moment you start to ask these kind of questions, you are going to go on a different tangent. It's the tangent of purpose. It's the tangent of relevance. It's the tangent of creating change and solving problems as against, I have a job and I want more money and then I want to jackpot. It changes the game. And this is why it matters for the game to be changed. The moment something shifts in your heart, the earth will respond to that shift. Meaning that the problem you want to solve, you'll be moved in that direction. The people you need to meet, you'll be moved in that direction. And that's how you enter what is called the flow that carries you to where you were born to be, but that you could have never gotten to by hustle.
So if I'm to describe the next generation, my generation in 4 words, I would say becoming, transforming, dominating, and I had the word for what I was trying to say.
Can I steal
Steve.
from DDKZoo?
I would say humility. I would say resilience, creativity, and I would say there are different things that come into my mind. Because it's like we're getting into a generation where technology is taking over.
seems like there's so much to be done in that space. But then there's also the aspect of power. Right? So I'll say power. I don't know. You should come help me, oh Jesus.
I felt very excited when I came upon the words that ultimately came together and said epic in trying to describe the kind of leaders that we see really evolving out of this generational identity and this dispensation of the Gen Z visionaries. So I'll call them epic, and as a word itself, it talks about, you know, this exceptionalness. It talks about power. It talks about standing out, doing great things, being fearless, and definitely marking a people or marking a space with impact in a way that it can't be missed. Some of you already know about a book that says you have to be so good you can't be ignored, and that's what epic feels like, right? People who hit the ground and really come into a context or a space and make a difference that is so remarkable, so meaningful. That's how I feel about Gen Z leaders, that they are epic, that they are change makers, that they are fearless, visionary, strong, and able to really just take us further.
Okay, I would say becoming, transforming, dominating, and legacy. I'm saying this because I really believe that in my generation, we're becoming. It's a wide spectrum of different ages, and so we're all in different phases. While certain people are already exhibiting the characteristics of dominating and transforming and building a legacy, in doing that, in fact, we're all still becoming. So I would say becoming is a very key factor that we even have a great advantage to in this generation because of the wealth of resources that we have available to actually become certain versions of ourselves.
I think when I'm in positions to serve with other visionaries that are actually making waves in Africa, I think that's a part of my contribution to the change. So it's not just about me being at the forefront exactly, but even being a part of movements where I see that change is the focal point in Africa, right? So me serving with somebody who is into policy advisory, somebody who is into coaching, you know, business enthusiasts, things like that. When I'm able to serve them and help create atmosphere where people can grow in their different spheres of influence, I think I'm already making my contribution.
Those who are coming, those who are on the scene, those who are emerging, definitely are going to take us further. And all the great work that we are doing, I mean, it will be advanced and expanded in the coming days.
I would also say we're transforming because in our becoming process, as I've mentioned, there's a lot of transformational work happening within and then happening in our world. I also said legacy because a lot of the mind-blowing, bold moves that we're making and we're privileged to make by reason of the resources that we have are actually leaving a legacy, like a mark for generations to come to benefit from and to leverage. And the final word that I said was dominating. Dominating because as a believer, as one called of God, we were literally called to dominate. And I strongly believe that we are in that decade, in that decade and that day and age where we are able to truly dominate industries and spaces and then the world at large.
So I'm not just waiting for when I am given like a position and a title to know that I'm in a position to make change happen, right? I know that it starts from now. It has already started. So even when I may get to places where I'm giving titles like, well, you're the director of this, or the lead pastor of this, or the or the lead advisor in a company, right? Or CEO. No, I'm not waiting for that moment to know that I am a person who is capable of causing change in Africa. I'm starting now, so that even when I get to those positions, it's just like I'm just flowing in the capacity of something that I've already been sitting in for a long time. And I think that for me, where I see myself causing change, or capacities I see myself causing change is in the economic sphere, you know. I want to go into economic advisory. I want to be able to be in spaces where decisions are being taken for nations and be able to have a say at the table. So I see myself going there.
But if I thought about those 4 words specifically that come into EPIC, that will be E for emerging, P for purposeful, I for influential, C for creative. Emerging not merely because in the chronology of time and life you're coming onto the scene, but also emerging because the answers of the future are with you. Emerging because there are breakthrough solutions and innovations that will be born on the wings of the ideas, the insights, and the inspiration that have been given to Gen Z leaders. Emerging because you have a sophistication of light that can tackle the sophisticated darkness of this dispensation. So there's nothing that I see happening in the world that I am overwhelmed by, that I think a young person cannot tackle with the power of divine counsel.
I think the first one I would say is catalyst, because I believe that there's something is happening and it's so fast, like it's happening. We are all over the place, everybody's like this Gen Z. So I think there's a catalyst effect. And the second thing I would say is adaptability, right? You can see a Gen Z now is a content creator, she's a data analyst, and they are wearing different hats. So that's like adaptability. There's something about Gen Zs that we know and we believe that whatever industry or place that we find ourselves, we can adapt. So adaptability.
Final thing that I find striking is that as we think about the fastest growing industries of the decade across the global economy, at least about 11 of those industries are completely so fresh that they don't even exist in the world of work that we've lived in. And it continues to foster the thoughts that Dr. Cindy Trim shares when she says the world we were born into no longer exists. And so those of you who are emerging in the course of this decade to come into the front lines of industries in local and global economies have to reckon that there's a whole world of learning that is before us, because the world we lived in and were born into no longer exists. So that's E for emerging. And then P for purposeful. 100% I've highlighted how one of the greatest things I'm excited about concerning Gen Zs is that they want to do purposeful work. They want to sit into the center of something meaningful, something that deeply connects to their essence beyond just a career, beyond just making money. And that is going to be a differentiating factor for this generation. This generation, in all of humanity's evolution, is likely carrying the richest sense and essence of a desire to make a difference along the lines of what they were born to do, not just what they are thrown into. And I'm still going to share why I think that is both powerful, but it has to be channeled and stewarded correctly.
In Africa, we can change our fashion game from 0 to 100 if we just have like people, visionaries that are thinking, oh, how can we make sustainable fashion that align with the SDGs, fast fashion, things like that. And I think that is somewhere that I would see myself taking a lead in, right? So yes, that as well.
Influential because we are in the era of what is called self-made media. Self-made media is high impact, low investment. And that's what you can do with Instagram, what you can do with LinkedIn. It's low investment, but is extremely high impact. And we're going to see the rise of iconic personal brands in the course of this decade amongst young people, ages 16 on to about 30, who are going to really just blow open into limelight and into notoriety, or what you'd call very powerful prominence. And it's going to be carried on the wings of self-made media. Like, some of you are not going to need a PR agency to become global in terms of your recognition and your renown. so influential because the power of the media is going to allow you to have access to the hearts, the ears, the policies, the perspectives of a wide majority of people, industries, and even governments. And then C for creative, and maybe that's the most exciting part for me. We are in a world where talent is now bankable. Would you believe that we're in a dispensation where very talented people are able to earn even more than the wealthiest people who have worked in traditional industries in a shorter time than they did in their lifetime or in the span of their career cycle. So many things are going to be born on the wings of creativity and craftsmanship.
I think we bring a different game to like the creativity. Like there's so much happening in our minds, and just like how you can do this, and like, oh my gosh, I never saw it that way. So there's so much creative juice like happening up here. So creative, yeah.
We're in a time of color, we're in a time of very unique ideas. You're seeing the things that young people are doing with brands and events, and arts, paintings, sculpturing, makeup artistry, fashion. So there's a lot of creativity. You really have to make sure that you don't think about yourself as a creative or a non-creative, because there's been some definitions over there where they're like the creative economy and the creative entrepreneurs. That's not how it works. Every single person is actually creative. You just have to find how to channel that creativity into your own industry, your own work, your own institution, your own purpose. So don't let anyone define you out of creativity. Define yourself into it.
And the last thing I would say, I stole this from DDK, please, is imagine, right? We're imagining just like the words, like everybody's like, where these people come from? And like we are here to stay. The Gen Zs are here to stay. Like just watch out for us. We're going to be doing a lot of crazy things. So watch out.
There's so much more that could be spoken about when it comes to the step-by-step process to actually get to where we want to go. So one beautiful thing about a good amount of us is that we're exposed to the beauty of what life can be, and we desire it. We're not necessarily dulling. We know that there's greatness out there and we want to go for it. We see it in ourselves. But when we begin our pursuit of this greatness, there are so many obstacles like imposter syndrome, availability of resources, knowledge. There are so many things that make us feel like we can't. I've always just had that sense of guidance. Be rest assured that there is direction on this step by step. So I feel that can be categorized as the right guidance. In our generation, one thing that we might really, the major obstacle that we're facing is the ability to know how to get to where we're going. We have an idea of where we want to go, but it's like we don't know the how. And even if we have a surface level of the how, when we dive into the how, it's like this is way deeper than I imagined. And I've always just felt like if people could talk more about the rigor how to follow, that would leave us rest assured that I would actually get there, it will be a really remarkable way to overcome the obstacles.
We're at Majestic Manifesto 2025, or well, we have Majestic Manifesto 2025. I know that some people will watch this long after it's over, but the reason we will then take a conference separated and say that we're focusing on Gen Z leaders is because that clarion call is strong, that clarion call is clear, and we feel that burden and that desire way more than we've ever felt it to contribute, to support, to cover, and to catalyze, move you into spaces of opportunities, of advantage, of knowledge, etc. So I could start off by saying that some of the strongest spaces that I see those who have gone ahead supporting and being able to help Gen Z leaders will be, number one, creating opportunities, creating bridges to opportunities. And this matters because sometimes there are rooms you can't enter simply because you have skill or you have interest or you have talent. There's got to be sponsorship. Somebody who's gone ahead of you has to say, yes, Damiloju is the girl. She has to be in that room. She has what it takes. I can vouch for her. I don't know if we're doing that enough. It looks to me like the opportunities we are creating are simply within the organizations that we lead, or we're inviting young people to come and work with us in, or where we're creating platforms for maybe collaboration. But it does matter that we're now sponsoring the next generation intentionally in rooms where we already have access on policy decision-making tables, and then in even co-creating solutions.
I feel like there's some people who have, in this generation, like the older generation, who have the capacity to train the younger generation and bring them up through the path that they came on, right? And were able to rise to levels of influence and change and all of that. But it's as if they don't rate us. Basically, it's like they don't think we have the capacity or what it takes to actually amass that kind of change that probably they were able to in their time, or they don't think that we have the ability to give ourselves to the same level of discipline and, you know, work ethic and thoughtfulness, you know, and resilience. So I think space. I need a generation of older people that actually believe that they are handing over to capable people, right? And they will be able to train us with that same mindset. So they don't just maybe see somebody who is younger and just discovering themselves, right? And still finding their footing and looking for guidance and see that and write them off. No.
The second thing would really be around, I would describe it as almost modeling and molding. And when I speak to molding, I mean that these Gen Z leaders already have a keen sense of purpose, but they may struggle greatly with their sense of identity, because those two things are different. You may have a strong sense of where you want to go, but you may not be sure about who you really are and the difference you could make if you get where you want to go. So modeling is I'm showing you what is possible. Molding is I'm ensuring your rough edges don't stand in the way of your greatness. And those two have to happen together. We speak a lot about modeling and it's powerful. We speak about mentorship and it's powerful, and that has to happen. But molding, of course, for molding to happen, there has to be trust, there has to be agreement, there has to be openness. So young people themselves also have to start to respond differently, to say, I can take feedback. If you see things about me that could stand in my way, I'm happy to make the adjustments, and to treat our personalities not as constants, but as dynamic factors that can evolve.
One thing that separates, you know, the older generation and our generation is that irrespective of, you know, their limitations, you wouldn't know this until you hear their stories. But I think we are so, you know, in our own little bubble that any little setback, we are just like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. But like being able to move past that setback into like actually making your vision a reality, and not like hiding under the umbrella of, oh, imposter syndrome, I don't think I can do this, what if this happens, you know, actually going beyond, you know, what you think is your capabilities, your abilities, and actually going step by step to achieve the desired reality is, you know, something that I think often, you know, affects the Gen Z.
A third thing would definitely be creating communities where you can have a one-stop shop experience of education, of opportunities, of mentorship, of, you know, connections, community. And that's why we're setting up the Emerging Leaders Collective, which I'm extremely excited about. I have been in the business of coaching for more than 10 years. I have led coaching accelerators, an entire year-long MBA grade coaching accelerator for high growth founders, executives, and leaders. And last year, we really started to say, how about we take that same framework that we've really seen deliver results for our founders and execute it for younger people, since Gen Zs themselves are getting into leadership positions, founding their own organizations, setting up startups, etc. So I believe that the Emerging Leaders Collective is likely the most impactful community that a young person, especially of African descent, ought to be in at this time. I am delivering coaching calls and mentorship sessions every single month. We have a core curriculum that is so evidence-based and very tested and has worked for senior executives, now couched for younger people, specific areas of growth for your journey. We have a really powerful community made up of other Gen Z leaders themselves. We have internship practicums. We have a capstone project that allows you give back. And then the exciting part is we actually have a faculty of mentors and board members. You get connected to mentors that can support you, and then these mentors and volunteer board members can actually come and sit on the board of advisory for your organization, which can become a game changer even for your own corporate governance. So I'm really looking forward to the caliber of leaders that we will welcome by May 2025, and I believe that you're going to be a part of that. The final highlight I would love to share about what we can do in preparing young people for greatness is in the way that we create connection points, both with our own generation and those that have gone ahead of you. Now, you have to reckon that we're talking about minimum of 4 generations within this life cycle or timeline that exists for us as a people. There are still about 2 generations ahead of me who are still fresh, who are still making contributions, who are still powerful with wisdom and insights, who have old money and have a lot of experience under their belt for how to build businesses, how to grow careers, and how to be successful in personal life and family life.
Another thing I would say is lack of proper mentorship and guidance. The one whose hand is held goes faster. It means that when you have someone holding you, not only do you not make the same mistakes the other person has made, but you actually do go faster.
It will be foolhardy of us, the Gen Zs, myself, those ahead of us, to think that we have everything that we need. So if I am still plugged into my own mentors and my mentors are still plugged into their own mentors, then what would you say you want to, why would it matter to you, to excuse yourself from these lineages of leverage? Because every lineage creates a leverage. So I would say that we must be about the business of creating alignment.
Speaking for myself and not necessarily for my generation now, how I'm overcoming it is finding that path in God, because I know that the Lord has provided a path for me to follow, and I'm encouraged by it because I see people who have gone ahead of me who were once this age. Maybe they were not called Gen Zs then, but then they were once this age in their own time, and it has been proving that God's method is actually man, and by following a man who has gone ahead, you are able to arrive at your destination. So one of the core ways that I'm overcoming this fear of not being guided aright or knowing the step to take is following those who have gone ahead, finding a forerunner and plugging into the steps that they took and even the wisdom of now.
Because this person is like a representation of what you want to be, is a representation of what you want to become in your future, and this person is able to guide you step by step on, okay, these are the mistakes I made, this is what I think you shouldn't do, this is what I think you should do better. And I think not having the proper mentorship and guidance is a major obstacle for us, and we fail to see the importance of mentorship. If we fail to see that it is such an important part of being a leader, being a representative of this generation, because whether we like it or not, these people have seen things that we are also going through, and they find to become better, to execute at levels that blows our mind. And I think that if we're able to harness proper mentorship from the older generation, because they've seen things that we haven't, and that popular saying that what a child cannot see while standing up, elder will see while sitting down, is really the reality, because you've not seen these things but they have, so they can take you from point A to point B without making the mistakes that you would have made if you went without guidance.
We are effectively defining ourselves We are talking about what it takes to navigate the journey, but we must also talk about the alignment we need with those who have gone ahead of us. Of course, I didn't even have this definition. It was Dari that gave me this definition for DNA. He was like, D, you've got to define who you are and where you want to go, and you have to be able to know what the tools you need to navigate that journey. But it's not complete until you align with those who have gone ahead, because we are all on this connecting path, you know, and it's like a baton pass, generation to generation. So I would say that you have to be on the lookout through research for the patriarchs and matriarchs of the industry you've been sent, and start to create those connection points. Secondly, I would say make an exchange of service for legacy. Those who are legacy leaders are always looking for those who can extend them, and those who can help them build the systems that allow their vision to succeed. That is, when you get to your 50s onto your 60s, that's what you're looking for. So you need young people who can become system builders and executors of your legacy vision. So Gen Zs, that's the season you're in now. For the next 5 years, don't only focus on your own business or startup, seek an opportunity to serve your way up. A third thing would be to make sure you are in rooms where your fathers and mothers are. You have to be in those rooms. Get into those conferences, get into those professional bodies, you know, sign up to those communities intentionally, where those who have gone ahead of you will be present, whether virtually or in person.
I think the older generation have done a fantastic job in making this available, because we fail to see that, you know, having a mentor doesn't necessarily mean you need to have like access to the person. You know, there are resources because of technology, there are resources online, there are books you can get. So you just need to find and frame a picture of this person, the person that you want to be, and go for it. So I think that's one thing we need more from the older generation. You know, just give us everything. We need it, like give us there are rooms that you pay for, there are rooms you pay to enter into, but like even with their free resources, we need, you know, roadmaps on how to, you know, do things, roadmaps on, okay, I did it, this is how I made my startup a multi-million dollar company and things like that. So like I said, proper mentorship and guidance from the older generation cannot be overemphasized. So yeah, speaking to you guys, we need you more than ever.
I want a generation of older people that would see that, want to take them in their tender phase and build them, mold them, reshape them into refined people that can actually do better for the world, for the kingdom of God.
The fourth would be for you to start to help, and it's still about systems, but there's a way I'd love to show you. You want to start to strengthen the thought leadership of the generation before you by using the advantage you have for creative storytelling and media mastery. So what I mean with that is, Obi Ezekwesili has been speaking on governance and politics and the new Nigeria for many years. Do you know that you could put her speeches together into a downloadable resource, into a book? You could help her create a documentary because you're a powerhouse with filmmaking. The moment you start to help them collate their thoughts into a path for legacy leadership, that becomes a game changer for you, and it can also get you in rooms quicker than you thought you could be, which is again what we've said about service for legacy. So 100% we must plug in intentionally. The final thing I have to tell you is your mate is not your mate. Your mate is not your mate. We have all these very odd and lopsided matrix that we're using to define success today. So you can look at a person who has 30 years experience in business in your industry, but on Instagram they have 2,825 followers, whereas you have 192,000 followers, and you're just like, what are they really doing? But 30 years behind the belt as a CEO, it's not the same as 30 months behind the belt as a CEO. CEO get levels, right? So you really have to be sure that the matrix you're using to define your success is separate when you're thinking about your contemporaries versus when you're thinking about those who have gone ahead. They are in rooms you are not in, and the rooms you are in determine the realms that you're in. So many transactions don't happen on Instagram. You could have a large following on Instagram, but it's just crowd and not people, because people are different from crowds. So you need to have this balance in the way that you define success, so that what you feel we have as a leverage as younger people does not blind you to the true leverage that those who have gone ahead of us have that we don't have. How are you? You look good. Lovely. And here she comes. Hey, baby. How are you? So there's already a promise that Big Mama Formula show you. And here she comes, the gorgeous one.
Thank you.
How are you? Everybody doing good? You want to come over here? I got this thing going, baby. I got this thing going. Always. Then by the time we do that micro twist, what is the Lord saying about this? They're not ready for it. They're not ready for it. They're not ready for it. That look, something is coming. Something major about to hit your generation. My God, as I move, it moves. Only as I move, I move. Jokes apart, you know, we've been spending time together just sort of saying, what is it going to take for the next generation to take up that mantle of leadership and rise? And I feel like the first place we could go is to not make it sound like you're not already leaders. You know that feeling like, take up the mantle of leadership. What have you been lives? There's already so much leadership, so much purpose, so much power that you guys are exuding that I actually need to warn you that it could be intimidating. Yes. In the midst of all the journey to a stronger sense of identity, a clearer sense of purpose, there's so much. You are natives of possibilities. So there's something about the way you carry yourself, the way you express yourself, the kind of confidence you have. I promise you, we didn't have this confidence. I mean, I don't know many people in their 20s in my own time who would actually be with their CEO and they too, they have an idea. You were not, as in, who are you to have an idea? You're not meant to have an idea, you're just meant to be nodding. You know, so it's an exciting new world, but you have to navigate that power. You have to house that power with meekness. You have to find that balance between owning your voice so that it's not lost in the noise, but also being able to read the room and present that energy in a way that is not intimidating. It's like light that shines but is not blinding. That matters. It matters for the men, it matters for the women. You have to be able to, you know, sometimes be quiet, sometimes be expressive, just riding the waves of what is expected per time. And then I feel like the biggest part of being a native of possibility is housing humility and hunger together. You're hungry for more, and you're still humble to acknowledge that you don't have everything you need for where you're going. So there's power here, there's purpose here, but there is still this desire for growth and transformation, you know, in a way that is continuous. There were 3 more things I would love to see with Gen Zs that you can carry with you and is going to be a game changer for the future. The first would be this purpose prototype thing we're talking about, authenticity. But I know when an average young person hears that, it sounds like do what you want to do. It's not do what you want to do. It is do what you know is right, even if you're the only person who is standing for it. It's not a license to just be anyhow. right? Because there's a world around you that is anyhow. So authenticity is the courage, the boldness, the elegance that it takes to choose a path that sometimes is less traveled, but deeply aligns with original design, that is God honoring, you know. I think the second thing will be delaying gratification. If you look around you, I mean, do you believe that Gen Zs have hair that I dare not aspire to? I mean, you heard when Mrs. O was like, let's elevate this thing. Because, I mean, you people are worthy of my respect, because if I think about what I have versus what an average Gen Z has, we're not mates. But what they spend on versus what I spend on, we're not mates. They're making all these big spendings on how they come across. Whereas where you should be making the biggest investments right is on the value of your work, the value of your mind, the value of your expertise. So delay gratification, you know, and don't let the soft life lie now take you on a path that derails you from the rigor of growth, the rigor of evolution, right? Because there's a discipline that is going to be involved in getting where you want to go. And sometimes it will look like you're slower, you're wasting time, your mates are on these big projects with big multinationals working on big brands. And you're just like, what are you really doing? But you're building up the actual expertise that will stand you out in the future. I think the final thing that I would love to see Gen Zs prioritize would be building in communities as against in silos. I think it would be more powerful if there were 8 of you who created an app that fought maybe sexual violence as against, and got it out in 8 months, as against one person creating it and getting it out in 3 years, right? We're taking longer because we want things to be behind our names, right? As against, oh, we feel called to solve a similar problem. How about we band it together and then leverage that, you know, share, co-creating and sharing of resources so that we get where we want to go faster. And isn't that what the Emerging Leaders Collective can get us doing? Like, come in, find your co-creators of purpose, and let's move quicker to where we want to go. Sounds like a good deal. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's been great having all of you with me. Love you.
My name is Oluwadamilojureofe, and I am the future.
My name is Oluwase Arinde, and I am the future.
My name is PDR, and I am the future.